So, I do have some beefs with organized religion. I do. But I will be eternally grateful to my parents for raising me with a religious background. I was raised Catholic, specifically traditional Latin Mass Catholic. And although, me, my parents, family, like we've kind of, I don't know, we've each veered off a little bit in our own different directions, but more or less we're all still Catholic, I guess you could say. But that's how I was raised. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And here's why. So, we all need a box to live in. Like, and this box is basically our culture. It can be a small box, you know, with very little wiggle room, real hard and fast rules, you know. And I guess, you know, traditional Catholic tends to be that kind of box. It can be a box with clear sides so that you can see out there and see what else is out there while staying in your own box. Or it can be a box, you know, with very sides that you can't see out of. Like, the only thing that you can see is your own viewpoints. It can be tall, you know, where no matter how much you fill it up, you're still within your own little box. Or it can be very wide, where you can fill that thing up and keep filling it up, and there's still room to grow. So, but you need a box, because basically this is going to be your foundation on which you as a person, you know, build your principles, build your beliefs, build, you know, who you are, your identity, and also build the cultural lens with which you see the rest of the world and by which you live your life. You know, your morality, your mode of actions, and everything like that. So if you are not raised in a box, like a kind of do whatever you want, say whatever you want, no right and wrong kind of thing, I guess I'd compare it to, you know, trying to build a foundation for who you are, but there's nothing to contain the concrete that you're pouring into that foundation. And it just kind of spreads out, soaks into the ground, and crunches under your feet, and doesn't give you anything firm to stand on. Whereas a box of any sort, you know, being raised religious, for example, that's a foundation, you know, that's a form that you can pour concrete into, it hardens, and you can stand on that for the rest of your life. And I think it's just, I'm really grateful, and I think it's really important that kids, I guess especially, be raised in a box. And I know that does not sound very free thinking of me, but hear me out. So, like I said, for the example of, you know, having that foundation, you can, and a lot of my friends, you know, and family, you know, have been raised Catholic, been raised real strict traditional Catholic, and, you know, after a while, you know, they grow up and they choose to leave the faith and, you know, become some other religion, or become agnostic or atheist or something. Or however, because they've had that, you know, real strong foundation to stand on when they were young, they still end up being, I'm not going to say worthwhile people, because that's insulting to a lot of to others, but they just end up being, there's maybe better people, or there, I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but they have that, they know who they are, they know what they want to be, they know how to get there, and they do it. And this is even after, they've, left their faith, whatever that means. And yeah, it's just, it's very important, I think, that you have a box to grow up in. Because without any limiting factors, there's just, there's that paradox of choice. There's just too many options. It leads to confusion and, just being wishy-washy, following, whichever way the wind blows, following the people around you, however good or bad they might be. They're just being easily influenced by others and not standing on business. Without that firm foundation, it's tough to succeed because you got nothing to build on. And I'm not going to say it's impossible. There are plenty of people in the world who, without any sort of religious upbringing or background or, strong cultural traditions, because, after all, that's what religion basically is. It's very cultural, it's cultural traditions. And some cultures, have that built in. Like, when I lived in Korea, they had Buddhism, but basically the culture that they lived in was traditional Korean culture. And they didn't need a religion necessarily to have a strong base to stand on, because everybody in Korea had that Korean culture. Here in the US, we're a melting pot, and we don't have a real strong base like that, so a lot of times religion supplies our cultural box. And like I said, it's not impossible to be successful and a good person and strong and a positive impact on the rest of humanity. You can still have that without religion and without a religious background, but it's difficult. You don't see it as often. And that's one of the main reasons that I go to church and attend the traditional Latin Mass, is because when I look around, I see, for the most part, definitely some exceptions, of which many people I might say I'm an exception too, but I see really strong people, I see strong families, I see hardworking people, I see dedicated people, I see loyal people, I see people who have good intentions, I see people, who do their best in whatever they do. I see people who are driven to excellence, and I see that all around me. And I know this is a box, this is a good box, this is a good culture to have around. This is a good community to have around. And like I said, when people decide to leave, they knock down the walls of their box, so to speak, and step out, they still have that foundation that was poured long ago and has been hardening all these years. They still have that foundation to stand on, if they want to and if they choose to. And no matter how much you change, no matter how your beliefs change, no matter how your morals change, you've still got that. You can always go back to that. You always know who you are, and you've always got that sense of, sense of purpose and sense of direction that you get from growing up in a box. And like I said, I've got my plenty of beefs with organized religion. Plenty of beefs. And maybe I'll get into those at a later episode. I might do some major scandalization if I start in right now, so I'm gonna hold off on that. But yeah, just having that real strong cultural background is super important into developing into a worthwhile person. And it's just something that's lacking in a lot of the US today. And people can try to replace it, with politics, with CrossFit, with different groups, that social activities, things like that, but they just lack the gravitas, of a religion. And I don't think there's anything else that really captures that like religion does. I mean, when it comes to religion, it's like heaven, hell, your eternal soul, right, wrong, real strong language there. And there's not a whole lot of other options that can take the place of something that serious. Now, people will take politics that serious, that's for damn sure. But I think even in the back of people's heads, they know that they shouldn't take politics that seriously, even if they do. But yeah, I guess politics is usually what people will kind of use instead of religion, or in combination with religion. Honestly, a lot of times that happens too. Religion and politics definitely get mixed together. So yeah, out there in, as far as choices of being raised in a box, picking which one you want to be raised in, well, not that kids get a choice, but parents, picking which box they want to raise their kids in. As far as a very serious, something you can take seriously, there's not a whole lot out there right now besides religion. So yeah, just shout out to my parents for raising me Catholic. Appreciate it.